Hello guys, welcome to another mixing tutorial. Today we are taking a look at my cover of Ragnarok by PERIPHERY. A very cool song. It's a PERIPHERY 2 song, and you can tell by the amount of little tempo changes. In case you don't know, PERIPHERY 2 is where they experimented with a lot of small tempo changes. For example, the ending section, which is the same as the beginning section, is a whole 10 BPM slower. Here. Just a little curiosity, in case you never noticed, there's a lot of tempo changes in all the PERIPHERY 2 tracks. So let's start checking out this mix where we usually do. This is our master bus. So all of the mix is going through this compressor, and let's see how much we're compressing today. Not very much. A constant, very small amount that's a little bit bigger, of course, every time the kick and snare hits. And today's option for the transformer is the nickel one, which gives you a nice boost in the treble frequencies. Then there's a new friend on the master bus that I don't use very often. It's a Pultec style EQ, and it's being used for low-end boosting. So I selected the 30 Hz frequency, which is very, very low. And I am boosting it at about, this isn't really 1.5 decibels, it's somewhere near it. And then I'm also using the attenuation at the same time. The way this EQ works is you choose the frequency in the bottom end and in the top end, and you get a boost, and you also get a cut. Let's listen to them. But there's this little trick where if you boost and cut at the same time, the boost gets a different shape. So I'm boosting a little bit of 30 Hz and cutting a little bit too, which gives it a nice slope that's very desirable in the qualities that it gives your kick and bass. So if you have a Pultec style EQ, you can either use this Waves one or any other one you'd like. There's also some free emulations of it if you look it up, and you can try this trick of boosting and cutting at the same time. Our usual limiter, let's see how much he's working today. So it's obviously tearing down on the kick and snare, but also every time there's guitars. So we're hitting the guitars too with the limiter, which means we're cranking it pretty loud on this mix. Let's see how much the mix is hitting in RMS values. Also, what the hell, that bass drop was way too loud. That's gonna sound great on the video. So the mix is at about -5 decibels, which it's pretty loud. So yeah, that's our master bus. As for the drums, I will send you back to North Lane Talking Heads mixing tutorial, where you will learn how I turn this raw drum sound into this. Basically, the components of the drum sound are Get Good Drums Invasion for the kick and for the cymbals, and Modern and Massive for the snare and for the toms. We will process them in that tutorial to get this sound. Since I'm in a bit of a hurry, I won't explain it in this tutorial. You can go watch that one. So that's North Lane Talking Heads. And it's good for you to go see also other mixing tutorials and not just the more recent ones. So let's go over this bass sound. So that's the DI from my Marcus Miller. I actually tuned it down to F sharp this time. I didn't program it. And you can tell in the tuning, it's not the best tuning ever, but it sounds pretty good. It's also super realistic. Like, you can't get this sound on a program bass. So our bass tone engine is the Joel Wanasek Bus Glue Bass plugin, and we're going to go from a DI to this. So that's a lot of the work done. This plugin splits your bass into bass end and treble end, and on the bass, what I'm doing is compressing them and leveling them with the volume slider. Top frequencies the same, some compression and then choosing an adequate volume. And then of course the built-in distortion that works only on the top frequency. I thought Distortion A was the coolest and I put it all at 100%. After that, there is R-Bass, which is generating more low end in the 80 Hertz region. Put your headphones or your subwoofer on and tell me if you can hear this. Off. On. It's a very big amount of information in that 80 Hertz area that gives the bass really nice perceived size. And the EQ, we're getting rid of sub low end beneath 40 Hertz. That's the kicks busyness. Getting rid of a little whistle that sometimes happens in this frequency. That's my bass. Sometimes when I stop playing very aggressively, there's something ringing inside of the bass, maybe a little spring that does this sound. I'm going to boost it. You can hear it, right? If you can't, well, that's good. Maybe I should worry less. And then I'm taking some of these harsh frequencies at 3.8 thousand. Yes, 3.8 thousand. Numbers are hard in English. So 3.8 thousand Hertz. To let the guitar work there. So not the prettiest guitar sound, but it works. DI sound like that. Let's turn on the amp. Let me check for something. Okay, no. This is basically the stock amp 1, which is emulating a 5150 amplifier. Maybe I messed with the gain controls. And I tightened up the gate to get this effect. Without the gate, you can hear just a little bit more noise beneath every note. Basically, I should turn off the gate when it's not this part, but I was lazy and I let it on all the time. So that's almost the stock setting with some gain changing and EQ changing too, I believe. The EQ after that, removing low end beneath 90 Hertz, because that's the bass and the kicks busyness. Removing some excess midrange at 2K. So that stuff. And removing excess high end above 8K. you can hear the fizz go away as soon as I turn it on and off. Then an SSL channel, that's further filtering the high end. Now you're really going to stop hearing any fizz. It's a fun thing because you'll stop hearing the very high fizz, but you'll start hearing more mid-range fizz, which comes from this boost I did right here at 3K. So I'm boosting with a shelf at 3000 Hertz for more mid-range, but I am cutting at 5000 so that it doesn't boost the fizz that's all the way up there. So that's a little trick with an SSL EQ or any EQ. You filter it pretty aggressively, but then you also boost aggressively. So you get the best of both worlds. It sounds brighter without getting all fizzy. Okay, let's get to this scary lead sound. So that's the DI. The amp sound is basically the same as the rhythm, I believe. It looks exactly the same. But on the amp's EQ, I turned the filters all the way up for the low end, so cutting up to 330, and all the way down for the treble, cutting down to 5K. Look at the before and after on this and you'll see what it does. I also boosted mid-range at 1.5 and you can see it gains that lo-fi character. Reverb, of course, short at 2 seconds and 25% wetness. Some chorus right here, which makes it wobbly in the stereo image and in the pitch too. It's basically at, this should be 60% mix, I believe. I can't read these controls very well. I just know when I turn this one on, it does basically what I like. It's a free chorus by Kierhu's Audio. That was hard. So if you want to get this one, it's free. And then a widening plugin. So this is free too by Infected Mushroom. It's called Wider, and it just makes stuff wider. Look. It makes it wider in a chorusy way that works good with a lead tone that's already chorused. So there is that. That lead tone is also here. And this tone is the same thing without the chorus. Let's go over these clean guitars here. So those are from a preset from the Will Putney amp simulator called Clean Tone, but it's not really a clean tone. Definitely still has some distortion to it. The gain is turned all the way down. I don't know if originally it is, but it should be. And the cabinet is cabinet 1, which is the same cabinet we're using for the rhythms, so that the clean tone and the distorted tone match. That's a cool trick. If your clean tone is way too different from your rhythm tone, use the same cab and that will give you a great level of coherency between the two tones, even if one is distorted. So yeah, that into some reverb. a little bit longer at 6 seconds, and at 35% wetness, we're getting more of it too. And a ping pong delay. The ping pong delay gives it this nice bounce, which is very pleasant. Awesome. Let's talk synths. So this is the intro boy. The synths are very hard to recreate, so I don't try to make them equal as the original because I couldn't if I tried. So whenever I find one that fits the bill, I'll just try using it. So this is the little glute soft lead. Of course, I want to get rid of all that bass. I want it to be a lead instrument, and there's a lot of bass frequencies I didn't need, so I filtered it up to 600. Some reverb for it to become wider, 2 seconds, 40% mix, and low end cut up to 500 Hz, and a limiter for volume volume consistency. To cut the attack down, because it was a bit pokey. Let's look at this boy. This one sounds very different from the original, but the notes are there. That's what matters. This is Bright plus Wide is the name of the patch, and it sounds like this without effects. So of course, way too much bass. Goodbye bass. And way too much fizzy top end too. The filter's at 4000 because that's where I thought it sounded best without removing too much or removing too little. And then a ping pong delay to give it bounce. And it also gives it rhythm because it's a dotted eighth. You can hear it go. Wow, 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 wow. So it gives it extra dimension and basically extra notes, actually. Now let's discuss this pad. It's called Deeper Whisper. Wow. I just EQ'd it. This is what it sounded like before the EQ. Pretty okay. So that's cutting low end, that's unnecessary. Mid-range, that belongs to the guitars. And a little whistle at 7K. It has this SE shit that I don't like. Let's talk some violins. This is what they sound like without processing. Then I slapped on this EQ, again removing sub-frequencies and removing mid-range that belongs to the guitars at 3000 Hz. Let the guitars do this scratchy shit, because the violins should be very smooth. And a limiter to combat the expressiveness of the I don't want it to be swelling in volume. That's realistic when it's alone. But when it's against guitars, I want it to be flat in volume. You can see it turning it down when it's too loud. And then there's this imaging plugin, which I will usually use to make something wider. Here I used to shift the imaging a bit to the right, because this is mimicking a real orchestra, and since I am playing very high notes, that would be violins 1 and violins 2, that would be on the left side of an orchestra, and you can hear it on your left speaker. I wanted it to be more centered, so this plugin gives me a rotation thing that plays with phase to change the rotation of a signal. I just nudged it to the right a little bit. Let's go over the piano boy. So we're starting with a very dry piano. Reverb at 5 seconds and 50% mix immediately gives it a better vibe. EQ to get rid of the extra bass, and a limiter for dynamics. Getting rid of the pokey attack makes me able to put it louder without hearing a piano key slamming your ear. Cool. Then we have our explosions. Just doing its thing. And today we have an extra bass drop on the part where he says, "Night will bring." That part has this. Oh shit. The way I made this bass drop is by using a frequency generator. You generate a sine wave at a very low frequency, and then all you have to do is automate the volume for the notes to appear and automate the frequency to go down. Look at it. You can look at my envelopes. So this is the volume turning on and then down, and this is the frequency going down. That's how you create a bass drop with a frequency generator. You automate the frequency and the volume. That's a bit too loud, but that's okay, because it's fun. So yeah, guys, that is the tutorial for the Ragnarok cover. I'm not too happy with the way how the guitars turned out, because you can hear them out of tune. I tried to use my 7th string to do the F-sharp tuning, and I should have recorded it with my 8th string, but that's okay. Just experimenting and seeing how the new guitar works in different tunings with different gauges. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it and learned something from this. And have a great... This should come out in August. Have a great vacation if you're having a vacation. If you're not, have a nice August and a really nice day. Take care.